All right, welcome back, everyone. If you are viewing us, then you obviously see we have a slightly different format today. If you're listening to us via Spotify or one of your other podcast streamers, we're telling you we have a very different format today. And for the first time ever on Biz Meds, we have a special guest. So, Saad, why don't you kick us off?
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Biz Meds. We are your hosts and neuroscience business coaches with a special industry guest in the podcast today. My name is Saad.
And my name is Darris. And as always, we are committed to giving you and bringing you the minimum effective dose to help you scale through all that noise and bring you the things that matter in your business with the least amount of effort and the maximum amount of value. Okay, so before we introduce Marvin a little bit, some of you may have heard about this thing called SharePoint. And today's episode is all going to be how can you actually leverage the power of SharePoint, or can you actually take advantage of the power of SharePoint? And what does that mean for you and your business? Marvin, we'll kind of jump in a little bit here. And
Sure.
Why don't you tell everyone kind of like how long you've been involved kind of working in the SharePoint space?
Sure, that's great. Thank you again. First of all, thank you for inviting me to your podcast. I feel like there's a lot of pressure being the very first guest on your show, but this has been great. But you guys have been doing a great job here. But as for myself, I've been living inside SharePoint for about almost just under 15 years, which in technology years is a geological era. Like I feel like I've been in there like 100 years, 1,000 years kind of thing. It seems forever, but I did come up with, I did learn coming up through the weeds here. So I worked in big enterprise first, the big organizations in the energy sector here in Alberta. And at one point, I was in charge of looking after like 2,000 plus sites. And when you're responsible for anything in the 2000s, you pretty much learn things pretty fast, right? How people work, all the issues they have and things like that. And what I've known is SharePoint is never like a technology problem. It's a people problem wearing a technology costume kind of thing. So it's kind of, I've worked with nonprofits. I've worked with family. Family always calls me up because I am known as the SharePoint guy or that SharePoint guy wherever I go. So that's me in a nutshell. I learned through a lot of my mistakes, right? And I want to make sure that
That's fair.
yeah, that I interact with, don't have to go through those 15 years of mistakes that I did. I want to make sure they learn SharePoint quickly and confidently. So,
Well, I think that perfectly aligns with one of our core tenets of existing.
yeah, that's great.
Okay, so with that, Saad, what do you want to open up some questions to Marvin with?
Yeah, Marvin, one of the biggest things, like I know we started off the podcast saying that, hey, should you even use SharePoint? So let's talk a little bit about what SharePoint is and how does one get SharePoint?
Okay. Whew. What is SharePoint? Man, that could mean different things for different people here. Well, in layman's terms, like I'm known as a translator for technical people to the business users. So when I say
Perfect. You're
SharePoint,
speaking to our audience.
great. Yeah. So I don't like using a lot of jargon. So hopefully, if you're looking for a lot of technical words here today, you probably won't get it as much. But this is what I tell people. SharePoint is where your organization's stuff lives, right? Where your teams work on together. It's a collaborative space, right? But when they say ask me to SharePoint, it's where all your company's stuff lives. So in a nutshell, and most people I meet, it's what they call the place where the files live, or well, it's true, right? But it's like calling like a hospital. It's like calling a hospital the building with beds, right? But underneath it, it's your company's. Underneath it's also your company's intranet, the internal site where you keep your policies. It's your document management system. It runs a lot of automation. People don't realize that are automated, really, right? Notifications and things like that. And now this is the part that changes everything. It's the foundation your AI tools are standing on. So it's that source of truth that what you're pointing your AI to, right? And And I love, I love cooking. I love food. And this is how I put it sometimes. Like SharePoint isn't a product you just buy or someone gives you. It's the kitchen you're handed, right? You are the chef. You get to, organize your kitchen. You get to, create those meals that you want to create, with SharePoint, right? So, So because everyone starts off when you're given SharePoint, everyone gets the same thing. You don't get like, you get the same amount of rooms, you get good appliances, you get plenty of space to create in when it comes to SharePoint, and people don't know that. I don't know about you, but some people will take it and take that one room and stuff everything into it, right? So if you understand what I mean, it means that you're just using.
I actually think that's probably one of the best analogies I've heard of SharePoint is that kitchen analogy, and I think the one of the things I think you just hit it is that everyone tries to stuff everything into one room, not knowing you have like literally infinite amount of cupboards and ways to organize all your things so that it's easy to find versus, hey, I think everyone has grown up with that one closet or that one drawer that everything gets jammed in, the junk drawer or the junk closet, everything goes in there. I feel like you just described probably maybe the upcoming question on, we'll get to it in a second, about some of the common mistakes business owners use when SharePoint. So when we say it, like, I guess a couple things come to mind. One, a follow-up to Saad's question is, like, how do you get SharePoint? Are there any other products out there that you would compare it to or are comparable that people might be able to relate to or may have heard of?
That's a great question, actually. And first of all, how do you get SharePoint? Sometimes you wake up with it, right? You're working in an organization and you're like, what is this, right? Kind of thing. It's a Microsoft product, of course, right? It comes in a bundle. If you have something like even Outlook, Teams, you probably have SharePoint without even realizing it, right? So one of the things is that people don't know is that Teams is it has SharePoint in the background working with it, right? You can grab just a business license for yourself if you needed to on Microsoft. You can connect to a business partner that kind of deals with Microsoft licenses if you're a bigger company or you want to get bulk licenses. That's where you want to find a Microsoft partner that sells these licenses. And I would suggest you do that because they will help you set SharePoint up if you don't have an IT team. All right.
So what I'm hearing is, so go ahead, Saad.
I was just going to say, sounds like you have to pay for Microsoft license and then you get SharePoint as a product on top of that.
Correct.
So you can't directly get SharePoint without having a Microsoft license.
Yeah, I would suggest going that way. And you can try it. There's 30-day free trials, kind of 30-day free trial, kind of that you can try it if you're diving into SharePoint or even that Microsoft world the first time, right? Because a lot of people that I know, especially the younger generation, and this is one of the tools that is comparable, is Google, the Google suite, Sheets, Google Chat, things like that. They kind of go hand in hand, but it's great for the educational kind of environment, the educational organizations. That's what we usually see it in high schools, even in universities. They'll use Google, right, and their suite of products. But
chances are, if you have a Microsoft Outlook email and you're a business, there's high probability you have SharePoint, whether or not you know it.
Correct.
Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Right.
Some people are afraid, know it's there, but they're afraid to touch it. Right.
Okay. So I think you touched on some other ones like Google Suite. Is it G Suite now?
G Suite,
like that. Yeah. I think are there any other kind of like comparables to SharePoint or G Suite or anything like that?
There are like other electronic document management systems, but they specialize in that one thing, like Content Server. They are missing certain components like the communication part with Teams chat, kind of thing in that space. So really, I really surround myself in that Microsoft. I'm really into that Microsoft world. But you can research a bunch of other things. There's still like Dropbox and things like that, but that's more for document storage. You can research this, but the main competitor would be something from Google, and then there's the kind of, what do you call, custom applications that people will go out and buy, and usually it's just a content server or server just underneath it that keeps everything for them, right?
And to be fair, I think everyone should know, like, Saad and I, we don't care.
Yeah.
Right. This is more like for in the world of Biz Meds and creating leverage. It's sometimes you have tools that you don't even realize that you have, and you try to go solve a problem that you already have the tools to do. And so you end up like duplicating a lot of things or paying for these other services that already exist in your organization. You've just never learned how to use them
properly yet.
And it's hard to avoid anything Microsoft these days, right? Especially when you're working in that, in the business field, even entrepreneurship in large organizations, in corporate, right? So those things that people do need to understand, skill up in, things like that.
I just want to add a layer to that, and it's the reason why is because of the compatibility across several different aspects of the business, right? Like, the more you're talking about SharePoint, and I had this joke in my head, like this dad joke coming into this podcast, is like, SharePoint is a point of sharing. So, and it's as simple as that, right? Like, it's literally exactly, edit, cut. It's as simple as that. Like, it's a point where you're going to be sharing with across your team.
Correct.
And it's that central point. And if it's set up properly, you can have different areas of the business optimized to do different things. And I'm not going to get into it, but like, there's, people use it for sales and marketing. They use it for supply chain. They use it for, different ways to optimize the business. So it is exactly to add on to why you're talking about the Microsoft being the competitor in this space or the owner in this space, is because of the again, collaboration opportunities.
Of course, I actually found the perfect end to your joke.
That's a great way of putting it, Saad. I remember that too. I'm going to use that when people ask me what SharePoint is and what it does. But I want to add to that, because that's an interesting thing you say, that it's the point of sharing, and that is, you actually hit it on the head. As funny as we may find that, it's the point of sharing. It's what people look for in collaboration, but it's a double-edged sword, because there's also mistakes, and we're going to say it's point of oversharing.
I think that's where,
right?
that's the perfect time to now talk about it. So Saad, Marvin, like, when we're talking about, not large, yes, obviously like large enterprises, but for, let's just say, like, let's dial it back a little bit to kind of our audience, right? And, you have a few people, you might have a team of 8 to 10, 15 people, and here you are, like, what are some of the most, I guess, common mistakes that businesses run into when either setting up or using SharePoint that like causes the most issues, or you end up fixing the most?
Wow. Whew, you know what? My mind is just racing with all these. What is the most common issue that people, that organizations or even just small businesses happen to do, right? And I think, and I could go through a list of them. I feel like I can go through a game show, or even like a top 10 of what we have here. But let's try to keep it, because
let's start with 3. Let's start with 3, and then we'll go from there.
We're gonna go with 3. Okay. Okay. Number one is, and I'm not dunking on anyone here in any organization. This is,
hold on. Number 1.
Okay, clear throughout the board. It's treating it like a shared drive, right? Where this is the big one that most organizations or people move to SharePoint by just taking their old file server, copying over the folder structure straight across and saying, yeah, we did it, right? And not really putting any planning to it. Because congratulations, business, you now have all your old problems in the cloud, but at a higher monthly cost. Okay, so and there's so many facets of this that tie in, and we'll discuss. As we're discussing, you'll see these little things come together, and I'm hoping that businesses will finally realize, oh, that's why we shouldn't be doing that, right? And that's where the folder trap happens, or like we said, we put everything to one cabinet as well, right? Yeah. Although that I think SharePoint is great, and Microsoft has some great tools, there are limitations to it, and people have to understand in the background what you need to build on to make sure that you are future-proofing your business for things like AI. And I love that you guys are in that space, because we need more businesses really advising other organizations on these things, right? So, yeah.
I mean, it's solve the right problem the right way.
Correct.
So
right.
It sounds to me like the number one challenge is you're just basically repackaging the existing problem you have for more cost.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes back to that, when we talk about that copying that whole folder structure over, right? You think about it. How do you find anything in that? I mean, that's the thing. That's one of the things that people can't find their stuff when it's not set up properly. So how do you remember where something is? Well, you have to remember the exact path somebody else invented like 3 years ago, right? The way you would organize your stuff, Darris, and the way you would organize your stuff, Saad, is very different from the way I would organize things, right? So, like looking for
or we just get you to organize it for us because you're an expert.
You can get me to organize. I can Maria Kondo your SharePoint sites and your SharePoint, what we call, let's say the organization of your libraries, right? But yeah. So.
And I want to just quickly add another comment in there, and it's most people will go in with like the immediate need of what do I need right now. And a lot of what you do, Marvin, is you set up the stage so it's scalable. It's designed to grow with the company. And that's why it is so important to do it right the first time. Because how many times have you ever had a situation where you're getting your kitchen made and the contractor completely did it wrong, so they have to come in and tear it down again and rebuild it all the way from the scratch. So your kitchen is set up in the right spaces and your cabinet is in arm's length instead of like on the ceiling at the top, right?
Yeah, and I don't want to shame anybody or any.
I think this is where we give credit where credit's due, and the reason why, because I'll tell you, we get a lot of emails on a weekly basis of people trying to pump their own tires of why they should be on Biz Meds. And that it's a very long list, and people are relentless about trying to pump their own tires. So just to be fair, we actually went out and found Marvin, and we've known the quality of work that Marvin does, which is why he is on this podcast with us, is because it's like anyone who, Saad says, has a kitchen remodel and they're like, oh, have you used these guys? They are amazing. They actually listen. They've built it the right way. They take their time. They are professionals. Like, that's why Marvin is here talking about all things SharePoint, because of the expertise in that area. To be a solutions expert doesn't even give credit to the work that he's able to do in SharePoint. So I think that's what additional context we need to give for the audience.
Oh, yeah, I totally appreciate those words. Like, oh, wow. I was like, who is this guy? Oh, that's me. But yeah. And I think, I'm fun to work with. I like to meet people where they are as well. So like I said, I don't want to shame anyone. It's across the board. People do this. So if you are a business saying, oh my gosh, we've done that, you can still fix things, with some guidance, with some help. It's okay to reach out to someone who's an expert. All right. Don't think that you need to learn everything on your own. Right.
What's the next biggest mistake that businesses are making?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So, I recently, like you said, small business. I ran into the small business, and they're asking, "Oh, could you help us like with our SharePoint? Because we think we're doing okay, but another person said that they have access to things that they're not supposed to, and they were actually allowing their customers into their like corporate small business side of things without even knowing it. So giving them access out of convenience because they don't know how to manage access properly. So permissions built entirely out of, hey, just give them access. It happens in the corporate world, but I ran to small business and, hey, what are your number one problems? I'm like, you actually have a pretty good, layout of your folder structure or library structure, but I can tell that you just put everyone into this one group. Did you know that they see everything that you're working on, including kind of business, your personal files, your business files that you may have like quotes on? And they're like, no, we didn't, because it was just easier for us just to add them to a folder. And with those folders, they had other nested folders. So even though people had access, they had access to all this private information. So we had to go fix that pretty quick. And that is another thing, is it just, and you do that for years. And this company has been using SharePoint and the Microsoft products for a few years now. And it was, after 2 years, you end up with an environment that really no one can tell you who's got access to what. And they don't know that they're supposed to do kind of like an audit on who has access, because maybe someone's left the company, right? Maybe that, you're done with that project, but people still have access to all that information. So one thing, is locking down those permissions. And like we were talking about earlier, Saad, it's about not oversharing or learning when to stop sharing. Okay.
What level of sharing is appropriate?
Yeah. And one thing I've seen in the larger organizations, they have a group called everyone except external users, right? Have you seen that? It sounds cautious, but it's not cautious. It means the entire company has access to everything. If someone goes into and says, I see that group, I want to add everyone so I don't have to worry about permissions, they add that, they're putting the company at risk.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a very common one, not understanding how permissions work. And when you do, I think a lot of it, would you agree that a lot of it is just they don't know what they don't know, and they just try to take their best guess at it? And so it's nothing that it's, intentional or anything like that. It's more that, hey, I just don't know, and I'm just doing the best I can with what I've got. 1,000%.
People will go through that. So, they'll just look up, how do I do this on, YouTube? And I think YouTube's a great place for information, but is it information or instruction you need for your organization? It may not be. You may have a different type of license, because again, going back to, hey, there's also different levels of licenses within that Microsoft space, right?
Yes.
You can do certain things and you can't do other things with the type of license. So you want to make sure you're looking at the right information for your platform, right? So
top 3. So round out our list with what's the third biggest mistake you're seeing businesses run into with SharePoint.
Oof, okay. So this is currently, what I'm running into a lot is who owns SharePoint, right? Who owns it? Like within the organization, I think IT sets it up and then IT is expected to own it. Well, sorry to tell you that no, IT should run the platform. They should maintain it. They should support it. But the business should own the content. IT doesn't know your content. You could tell them, oh, can you help me find this? They can help you find it, but they didn't write that content. So you can't depend on IT to understand your business. That's where you have your subject matter experts within your business or within your department. Make sure that they understand how to use SharePoint for your business, because this is what I was talking about again when being in the kitchen. You can customize the meals that you need for what you do within a business, because there's so many parts of your business. There's the HR part if you're a growing business. There's the finance part. There's the, purchasing part of business, and people will use SharePoint differently. But yeah, it's, let's say, who owns it, right? Like there's always a back and forth. No, IT does it. No, actually the business does. And I think there's a lean towards having the business own things now. So, which is a good path forward, right? One of the things that I do run into when it comes to who owns it is especially in large organizations, is you should have more than one SharePoint site owner for your sites, because people move, people leave, things like that. And you'll want to have succession planning behind your SharePoint sites as well. So those are the things that we want to have. Know who owns it, know who's in charge of the content, and know who you're passing that legacy on. Have you ever been the site owner, Darris or Saad?
Yes.
Yep.
Are you still at the companies you were site owners for?
I should hope so.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but you feel like some of. But I know there's been shifts. People leave they get promoted, they leave, and they're like, do you want to be a VP who's still running your SharePoint site for your team? Probably not. So. Yeah.
Okay. So top 3, that's a lot. All right. While I gather my next question, Saad, what do you got on the?
I mean, there's 100 different ways we can go about this. Where we start now talking about, because a lot of our focus has been AI and helping businesses optimize, utilize the tools they have. And if we start moving into a conversation with you, Marvin, around AI, I think we're going to be 2 hours into this podcast, trying to figure out what is happening on the SharePoint space. But just a high level question, how monumental is it to have a proper SharePoint site set up in this AI journey, in a company's AI journey in general?
Wow, that's well.
You have 30
Without
seconds.
getting into it,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get into the deep end, but
Yeah.
Is it still relevant, basically?
So good data hygiene. This is another way of saying garbage in, garbage out kind of thing, right? So good data hygiene will provide the best, most accurate, most trustworthy outputs that you point your AI to. AI does not judge things. This is why there's a fundamentally a problematic solution when you get answers from AI. When you have data that is not trustworthy, you have expired data maybe from 10 years ago because you're pointing your AI at your whole, SharePoint tenant, maybe, right? When you think about that.
Well, I think I'm going to jump in on that one. It's AI's lazy. It's basically jumping from node to quick node, but it doesn't know the context for how relevant and new and connected that data is. So it'll just jump, and it won't go very far. So to your point, if you have really bad data hygiene, it doesn't really know what it's looking at. There's a high probability you're not getting the best answer back from it. Is that?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that I say, AI doesn't have judgment; it has access, right? It has access to a lot of information there. So especially if you give out that everyone but external, it's looking at, terabytes of information sometimes, right? And what when you get into that problem of, hey, and then you're getting different types of reports because, this guy's looking at a report from 2026, and then another guy's looking at something from 2025. They're thinking they're reporting on the same numbers, and then you get into these meetings, and this is where people clash because they're both looking at information they think is correct because that's where they pointed their AI to. So Absolutely. And when you get this, when I talk about this, AI didn't create your information problem. You just handed it a microphone, right? To like say, hey, right? So I have that.
I like that.
Yeah, you like that one? I think this is for no podcast. I was thinking, got to make it relative. So, yeah.
What's a really good soundbite?
There you go. But yeah, I definitely,
Okay.
we can, so much to talk about here. And yes, we should make this like a Netflix series.
We generally like to keep our episodes kind of short and sweet, maximum effectiveness with minimum effective dose. It's kind of what you do. So I guess we kind of talked a lot of things, right? Like, so what is SharePoint? How do you get it? What does it do? The major issues that businesses have running into using SharePoint. And then we also talked about kind of like how the importance of making sure your SharePoint, if you're using it, is actually really well put together, especially if you're looking at AI and trying to incorporate AI. Again, our belief is just because you can doesn't mean you should. So even though you can use AI, doesn't mean you necessarily should. It's all about solving the right problem the right way. And what I do love about SharePoint is it allows you to organize data and get your information organized in a more data backed scenario where you can actually access it and make good use of it. So with that, Marvin, I think it'd be important for people. How would someone's listening, they're like, you know what, I need help with my SharePoint. How would they find you?
They could find me on LinkedIn. I'm there, Marvin Hidalgo, MH365 Solutions. They can search that on there as well. That's my main platform. I am branching out into other things, having content like you guys have inspired me to do my content, put out YouTube content as well, put out a platform where, it's meeting people where they're at. I like providing a safe space for people. People live behind their fear. This is one thing I know is that people don't wake up wanting to learn SharePoint. They don't like, oh my gosh, SharePoint's here. Oh my gosh. No, they want to just get their work done. And if I can help them unlock those things about SharePoint, about the way they work and leveraging SharePoint, then I want to be able to do that. I want to make sure that they go home that day from our sessions feeling more confident in the way they use the Microsoft tools, especially SharePoint. But yes, most people reach out to me on LinkedIn. Word of mouth.
I get a lot Marvin Hidalgo.
Yes,
Marvin Hidalgo. Also, you can email directly mhidalgo at mh365solutions.com.
Correct.
Right. If you want to email you directly. And we'll see if we can maybe put a link to your LinkedIn in the show notes, so that when people are watching, they can link over and find you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm so bad at promoting myself, so it's just one of those things where I word of mouth. People go check Marvin, they call me up. But yes, thank you for that, and I definitely enjoy. I would definitely want to continue conversations with you guys on this space. But yes.
Any other thoughts, Saad?
No, I think this is again. I feel like any other thoughts will lead to another 30 to 2 hours worth of conversations, because we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
Oh, absolutely.
And trying to keep it to like the minimum effective dose. The only other thoughts are, thank you, Marvin. Thank you for coming in and helping educate some of our viewers on like what is possible. A lot of our clients are very much like in the beginning stages of their journey. So those 3 pointers that you shared are, I would say, again, like very much in line with what we've also seen. So having you come in and like reiterate those and like point and shed a light to that is very important. So thank you.
And thank you guys as well for having me here.
So before we let you go, Marvin, I just one last question, and I'm hoping you're going to be brief with the answer. But given those major issues that we talked about, right? What's the single biggest thing that business owners can do to help kind of like alleviate that or try to solve the right problem the right way?
Reach out for help.
Right on.
Right? Reach out for help. Don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I just did. That's it. Reach out for help. Like, don't do it yourself. Kids.
Awesome. Solve the right, try to figure out what, reach out to someone who's help you figure out the right problem to solve the right way. Right?
Correct.
Awesome. Okay, everyone, we want to thank you for joining us on this very special kind of first new format of Biz Meds as we test it out. And we want to say thank you to Marvin of MH365 Solutions for joining on and talking about all things SharePoint, where you're probably having problems you don't even know about, but also there is a path forward. So reach out to Marvin. He's an expert. So we want to say thank you. If you've been along the journey from the very beginning, like Saad's mom and my mom, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Hi, Mom.
If you just joined us, like Marvin and Marvin's mom, thank you. So with that, everyone, thank you for joining Biz Meds. We're your neuroscience business coaches. My name is Darris.
And I'm Saad.
That's Marvin.
And I'm Marvin.
And as our guest, giving you the minimum effective dose to scale through the stuff that's holding your business back. So with that, everyone, remember, you're just one day away from the life you've always dreamed about. We're going to see you in the next episode.